Hello, I'm Mr. Orange and this is video hashtag 680. And for this video, I'm reviewing Winx Club Season 4 Episode 10. It's called The Audition and it seems to be a Misa-centric episode. Anyway, before we get into this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe and let's get into it. Anyway, we are now having an intermission. And for this intermission, we have another Q&A question. And the question for this intermission is, do you have any pets? And to my answer to that is that I do not have any pets. I never had pets and I never choose to have any pets. I don't have any pets for many reasons. For one thing, having a pet takes so much responsibility. I don't think I'm responsible enough to even take care of a plant. Secondly, pets don't last long. Like, what's the point in having a cat or a dog if they're only going to last for 16 years instead of a lifetime? And thirdly, most animals scare me. Sometimes it's not the animal that scares me, but it's what they do that scares me. And for me, I do have phobia of seeing dead animals. So if I saw like a dead animal in my room, I would not handle it really well. Anyway, after the theme song, we have the first scene with Bloom and Flora trying to have a conversation with Roxy. And Roxy, kind of has a conflicting feelings about, being a fairy. And it's kind of understandable. She's the type of person who doesn't want to be special. She just wants to have an ordinary, normal life. And I can appreciate that for her. Flora and Bloom report back to the other Winx. Nothing interesting happened so far. Anyway, the Winx figure out how they can become stronger against the Wizard of the Black Circle. All they need to do is get people on Earth to start believing in magic and fairies. Anyway, the Winx try to discuss what they're gonna do with the White Circle. They want to make sure they keep it safe so it doesn't fall in the wrong hands like the Wizard of the Black Circle. So Bloom decides to keep the White Circle around her finger. I mean, I don't think it's really safe to, if they're gonna keep this ring safe, I don't think it would be wise to carry around with her, If I had to suggest something, maybe give this white circle to Miss Farragonda so she can keep it safe. Would the Wizard of the Black Circle suspect that Farragonda would have this white circle? Anyway, while Winx and the Roxy, try to, do the mission of, trying to convince Earth people to believe in magics and fairies, Misa heads off to her audition with Jason, and she's bringing along her boyfriend Riven. Anyway, moving some scenes along, Techna finds two girls arguing over a dress. So Techna plans to use her believing spell to, convince these girls not to fight over a dress. In doing so, something cringy happens. The other Winx start going, "My fairy," and they just put their hands down, letting Techna inside this shop. I hated that scene, that was so cringy. I hope they never do that again. Anyway, Techna uses her believing spell to convince the girls to start fighting over each other. So her spell is Gem of Mind. I think for her spell, she convinces people to, to rationalize their thoughts and stop arguing. She helps, people to see the bigger picture. I think her spell seems to be more internal compared to Flora's and Bloom's. Like Bloom's spell, she, has the ability, to give people some life, to bring them from consciousness. And Flora's power is to, to restore nature. Even while using the spell, it doesn't work. The two girls still don't believe in fairies or magic, even though it happened right in front of them. If the girls don't believe this, the shopkeeper should have anyway. Like she's the one who witnessed the scene. Anyway, it's Stella's turn to use her powers. So anyway, since Techno's powers is focused on rationality, Stella's power seems to be focused on positivity. So Stella sees an angry man, talking to his, co-worker. The co-worker wants to, take a day off, to see his sons play. And the one who's talking on the phone seems to be the boss, and he seems to have like an angry attitude. So with Stella's spell, she, calms him down. So I guess just like Techna's, Stella's spell is also internal. I think it's said before with like all the YouTubers, if the Winx are practically, mind warping these characters. Well, particularly Techna and Stella. Anyway, back with Misa, she, heads off with, trying to meet Jason. She ends up being late because, Riven was being late. And Riven and Misa, continue to bicker with each other. For the entire time, Riven is just being obnoxious. Anyway, we're back with Roxy and the Winx. And Roxy kind of tells the Winx, like, their approach of, trying to make, humans believe in fairies isn't working. They should try a different approach. Like, they can't just force themselves into believing into, magic and fairies. They have to, be gentle with them. Okay, in the next scene, the Winx transform in the Believix. And I noticed an error here. Why is Misa transforming with them? Like, Misa should be with, Jason and Riven. She shouldn't be part of the transformation here. If I was the producers, I would redo this. I mean, you could totally cut Misa out of this transformation. And that's kind of my frustration about like the newer seasons. Like you don't get like individualistic transformation this time. Because back in like season 1, 2, and 3, not every of the Winx transformed with each other. This happens quite a lot in season 4, 5, and onwards. Anyway, back at Misa's studio with Jason, she starts showing off her musical talent with Jason. She sings a song, but I do have an issue with this. She does sing a song that we've already heard in this show. Like if this is like an audition with, Jason, it would be great if, Misa sang an original song that hasn't been played in the show yet. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity. If the writers of Winx Club can't figure out to use any song for like season 4, and if they're gonna choose a song for Misa, they should choose a song from like Winx Club in concert songs. I personally think the song In This World would have been a perfect song for Misa to sing here. Not only does this song fit Misa, but no one would question it. I'm not sure if this song is canon yet. This reminds me back in season 2, in both version of Focus and Cinelim, Misa did sing for the concert, and both of those songs were beautiful and they were original. Like in the Cinelim version, we had Sky Without Stars, and in the Focus version, we had A Magic in My Heart. And those were really beautiful. I wish they kept something similar with her. Also, the song that she sings for in this version, in the studio, it seems a bit more Winx-centric. It doesn't feel like Misa-centric. Like the song she's singing about is about the Winx, not about her. Anyway, back with the Winx. They notice that a building is set on fire caused by the Wizard of the Black Circle. So they head over there, to stop them. They help save some civilians. And while helping them, Layla uses her special spell. And her special believing spell is Spirit of Courage. So with Layla's spell, she helps others, to overcome their fears. She helps them, be courageous. And similar to Tekna and Stella, like Layla's spell is also internal. Like these three fairies, their spell seems to focus on, individual psyche. While this might be really helpful, but it's also really questionable. I think what makes this questionable is like these individuals aren't, overcoming these by themselves. They're having, a spell do that for them. Soon later, the Wizard of the Black Circle revealed themselves. I mean, the Winx should have known it was these guys. However, if it wasn't these guys who set the fire, it could have been just any old random, people from Earth. Anyway, the Winx and the Wizards get into a battle. I mean, I do like the fighting choreography in here. But there's one bit with Bloom and Ogron doing a dance with each other while they're fighting. It's very weird. I mean, I don't mind the fighting pairings either. Like, Tekna and Stella fight Gantlos. I do like this pairing. But if it was me, I would have preferred if Tekna and Layla both fought Gantlos. And I prefer if Stella fought Demon, because those two is what I would pair in terms of battle fight. And then I would have, Flora fighting Anagon. But hey, this is just me, and I enjoy the fighting anyway. Anyway, while they're fighting, Bloom hears a commotion. She could hear her dad screaming for help. Because, her dad is a firefighter. The wizards, try to, surround her. However, Bloom uses a devastating, catastrophic spell. It's called Supernova, and I kind of like this spell. It's pretty impressive. She kind of creates a huge explosion. It sets the Wizard of the Black Circle off. As soon later, she catches up with her father, and he's kind of unconscious. So Bloom uses her Strength of Life spell, and her father's back to life again. Finally, the Winx and Bloom's dad come out of the fire. They did their job, and now I think, the people start believing in fairies now. I think that's a good job done. I think the Winx should be proud of themselves because, they did their job of, convincing their people of believing in magic and fairies. Now back with Misa and Riven, Misa comes out from, the studio, and Jason really liked her song. But Riven was so rude to her. He was so unsupportive. As a boyfriend, you can't just be unsupportive. At this point, you're just gonna have to break up. Also, were you guys ever, suspicious of Jason Queen? When I first watched, season 4, I was always suspicious of this guy. In one hand, I can see that, Jason is being supportive towards Misa about her music career. Also, I also want to point out, like, Jason is probably in his 30s. Also, I also want to point out that the music industry is kind of toxic. In real life, anyway. I bet it's the same way in the Winx universe. And Jason Queen gives that weird, shady vibe about him. Like, is he doing this for Misa, or is he doing it for himself? The episode could definitely do without this filler towards the end. Like, we didn't need this bit. And the episode ends with Misa declaring that it's over with her and Riven. And I hope it's over for Misa and Riven. But knowing about the future seasons, we know this isn't true. And with that, the episode ends, and it's time to conclude my thoughts about this episode. I think my favorite part about this episode is where the Wizard of the Black Circle was surrounding Bloom, and she used like a devastating spell. I thought it was really cool that Bream used like a really catastrophic spell to defeat the wizards. I think my least favorite part about this episode is Riven being rude to Misa. Anyway, I guess this video is over now. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Anyway, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and have a lovely day.